Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction created purely for entertainment. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. It was around 10 in the morning when I first heard the drip. At first, I thought it was just rain tapping against the kitchen window. But when I turned off the faucet and stood in silence, I realized the dripping was coming from the ceiling. My stomach dropped. The thought of a leaking pipe in our house was the last thing I wanted to deal with, especially since my husband, Daniel, had left early for an out-of-town business trip and wouldn't be back until the next day. I remember standing in the middle of the kitchen, phone in my hand, trying to figure out whom to call. The water was slowly starting to form a small puddle on the tile floor. Panic bubbled up in my chest. I knew I had to act quickly before the leak caused more damage. That's when I remembered Alex, Daniel's best friend. He was practically family and also worked as a contractor. He'd helped us fix a couple of things around the house before. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if it would be weird to call him while Daniel was away. But the dripping grew louder and the water kept spreading. I scrolled to Alex's name in my contacts and hit call. "Hey, Alex. Sorry to bother you. There's a leak in my kitchen ceiling and I don't know what to do," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Alex's voice came through, warm and reassuring. "Don't worry, Mia. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and took a deep breath. I felt relief wash over me knowing help was on the way. But as I wiped up the water with some old towels, I couldn't shake this strange flutter in my chest. It wasn't just stress. There was something else, an odd mix of nervousness and anticipation I didn't fully understand. True to his word, Alex arrived exactly 20 minutes later. He knocked on the door, toolbox in hand, wearing a gray t-shirt and faded jeans. His hair was slightly tousled, and his face was flushed from the heat outside. He gave me a quick smile, and for a second, I felt my cheeks grow warm. "Hey, Mia. Show me where the leak is," he said, stepping inside. I led him to the kitchen, trying to ignore the way my heart was pounding. Alex squinted up at the ceiling, water dripping steadily onto the floor beneath. He wiped a drop off his forehead and sighed. "Looks like a pipe might have cracked," he said. "I'll have to check upstairs in the attic." As he climbed the ladder to the attic hatch, I watched his strong arms grip each rung. I scolded myself silently. This was Alex, my husband's friend. I shouldn't be noticing these things. But the truth was, Alex had always had this easy charm about him, the kind that made people feel safe. And now, being alone in the house with him felt different somehow. A few minutes later, he called down to me. "Mia, can you come up here for a sec? I need an extra hand." I hesitated, glancing at the puddle growing bigger on my kitchen floor. Then I climbed the ladder carefully, feeling the heat of the attic close in around me. It smelled faintly of dust and wood. Alex was crouched near a beam, flashlight in one hand, pointing toward a small crack in a copper pipe. "See that?" he said, his breath shallow from the heat. "That's where your leak's coming from. I can patch it temporarily, but you'll probably need a plumber later." I nodded, wiping sweat from my forehead. But before I could respond, there was a sharp creaking noise beneath us, as if the attic boards were shifting. I felt my balance tip. Alex reached out quickly and grabbed my arm, steadying me. His fingers were strong and warm against my skin, and for one strange, breathless moment, neither of us moved. Our eyes locked, and I realized how close we were standing, barely inches apart. The silence between us felt electric, pulsing with something I couldn't name. I tried to look away, but Alex's hand stayed on my arm a second too long. Finally, he cleared his throat and let go, his face suddenly serious. "We should get back down," he said gruffly. I climbed down first, my mind spinning. Back in the kitchen, Alex set his toolbox on the floor and started gathering his tools. But the way he kept glancing at me made my chest tighten. There was something in his eyes I'd never noticed before, a mix of concern and something deeper. Before he left, Alex paused at the door. "Listen, Mia. I didn't just come here because of the leak. There's something I need to tell you. About Daniel." My breath caught in my throat. "About Daniel? What do you mean?" Alex opened his mouth to speak, then seemed to think better of it. He shook his head, looking torn. "I'll tell you next time. Just Be careful, okay? And with that, he was gone, leaving me standing in my kitchen, dripping ceiling above me, my mind whirling with questions. What could Alex possibly know about my husband? And why did he look so troubled? I stared at the door long after it closed, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. I had a feeling that fixing the leak was only the beginning, and that whatever Alex knew could change everything. I stood there for several minutes after Alex left, the drip 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 from the ceiling echoing in my ears. His words kept replaying in my mind, "There's something I need to tell you." About Daniel. It was like a stone lodged in my chest. I tried to shake it off, telling myself maybe Alex was overthinking something small. But the look in his eyes haunted me. I forced myself to mop up the water and put a bucket under the leak, but I kept glancing at the door, half expecting Alex to come back and finish what he was going to say. My phone buzzed on the counter, and I lunged for it, hoping it was Alex texting me. But it was just a notification from the weather app warning about possible rainstorms tonight. I rolled my eyes, as if I didn't have enough water problems already. The house felt too quiet without Daniel around. Usually, he was the one making dumb jokes to distract me when things went wrong. He'd whistle while fixing stuff, even if he had no clue what he was doing. My chest tightened thinking of him. We'd been married for 6 years, and while we weren't perfect, I always believed we trusted each other completely. So why would Alex have anything to tell me that I didn't already know? I couldn't help remembering the way Alex had looked at me up in the attic. The way his hand had lingered on my arm. I felt guilty for even thinking about it, but there was no denying that something had shifted between us in those few minutes. I tried calling Daniel, but his phone went straight to voicemail. I left a message, trying to keep my voice light. "Hey, babe. There's a leak in the kitchen, but Alex came over and helped. Call me when you can. Love you." I set the phone down, but an uneasy feeling wouldn't leave me. It was like there was a fog hanging over everything. Later that afternoon, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, staring into the steam rising from the mug. I couldn't stop replaying Alex's words. Just, be careful. Careful of what? Or who? I thought back over the last few months. Daniel had been working late a lot more often, traveling for meetings he said were last minute. I'd believed him, because why wouldn't I? But now, tiny things started clicking together in my head. The calls he took in another room. The times he seemed distracted, even when we were together. The way he'd flinch if I asked too many questions about his trips. Still, Daniel wasn't a liar. He wasn't the type. At least, I didn't think so. A few hours later, as the sky darkened outside and the wind started howling, I found myself pacing the living room. I picked up my phone and hovered my thumb over Alex's number. I wanted to call him, to demand he tell me what he meant. But at the same time, I was afraid to hear it. My mind wandered to memories of the three of us together. Alex and Daniel had been friends since high school. They were like brothers, always cracking jokes, sometimes getting into stupid arguments over sports teams. Alex had been at our wedding. He'd helped Daniel build the deck in the backyard. He'd even helped me surprise Daniel with his 30th birthday party last year. I kept trying to picture Alex betraying Daniel somehow, but it didn't fit. He was loyal, honest. So whatever the secret was, it had to be serious for him to hesitate like that. The rain finally arrived, pounding the windows like 1,000 little hammers. I jumped with every gust of wind, feeling like the house itself was holding its breath. My mind was spinning with possibilities. What if Daniel was in trouble? What if he was hiding something from me? And why would Alex be the one who knew? I was so lost in my thoughts that when there was a knock on the door, I nearly screamed. My coffee sloshed over the rim of the mug, dripping onto my hand. I wiped it quickly, my heart hammering. For a second, I was sure it was Alex, coming back to explain everything. But when I opened the door, it was just a delivery guy holding a small package. He handed it to me with a polite nod and jogged back to his truck through the rain. I stared down at the box. My name was written on the label in bold black letters, but there was no return address. A chill ran through me. I carried it into the kitchen and set it on the table, suddenly afraid to open it. I hovered over the flaps, my fingers trembling. Finally, I peeled the tape away and lifted the lid. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a small object wrapped in bubble wrap. I unfolded the paper, my eyes scanning the words written in neat, familiar handwriting. Mia, I'm sorry. You deserve to know the truth. Please look inside carefully. A. My fingers fumbled as I reached for the object in the bubble wrap. I unwrapped it slowly, my breath caught in my throat, afraid of what I might find. And when I finally saw what it was, I gasped so sharply that I felt dizzy. My vision blurred for a second as 1,000 questions exploded in my mind. It was something that could shatter my entire world, and it was only the beginning. My hands were trembling so badly I nearly dropped the object. I stared at it, unable to breathe. It was a slim, black USB flash drive. Something about its presence in the box felt ominous, like a silent bomb waiting to go off. I kept replaying Alex's note in my head. You deserve to know the truth. I set the drive on the table as if it might bite me. Part of me wanted to plug it into my laptop that instant. The other part was terrified of what I might find. I imagined all sorts of things: emails, photos, bank statements. Evidence of secrets I never even suspected. I ran my fingers through my hair and tried to think straight. Why would Alex send me this instead of just telling me in person? And why was he being so secretive? Outside, the rain continued to pound the roof. Thunder rumbled like distant growls. I paced back and forth in the kitchen, glancing at the USB every few seconds. Then another thought struck me. What if Daniel found out I had this? If he really was hiding something, would he be angry? Would it put me in danger somehow? I almost laughed at the absurdity. This was Daniel, my husband. The man who held me when I cried over sad movies and surprised me with flowers for no reason. But then I remembered how Alex looked in the attic. How he'd seemed torn. Like he was carrying something too heavy to keep to himself. I finally grabbed the flash drive and tucked it into the pocket of my jeans, deciding to wait until I felt calmer. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Daniel. Hey babe. Still tied up here. Storm's messing with traffic. You okay? I stared at the screen for a long time, feeling my throat tighten. I forced my fingers to type. Yeah, all fine here. Leaks under control. Just missing you. I hit send, then tossed my phone onto the couch like it was burning me. The lie sat heavy on my chest. I turned and caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection of the dark window. My face looked pale, eyes wide with fear. Who is this woman hiding secrets from her own husband? Suddenly, my mind flashed back to last month. Daniel had come home late from another business dinner. I'd smelled perfume on his shirt, something floral and sharp, and when I asked about it, he'd laughed it off, saying a colleague had hugged him goodbye. I'd believed him because I wanted to. But now, doubt spread through me like ice water. I couldn't sit still anymore. I went upstairs to our bedroom and opened the closet, rummaging through Daniel's side. Everything was neat and organized, just like always. Shirts ironed, ties lined up by color. Nothing seemed out of place until I reached the small wooden box where he kept loose change and old receipts. I pulled it down and sifted through the contents. That's when I found a slip of paper folded tightly. I unfolded it and read the words written in a woman's elegant handwriting. Same time next week? Missing you already. L. My breath whooshed out of me like I'd been punched. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands shook as I tucked the note back into the box. I tried to convince myself it could be innocent. A work colleague, maybe. A joke. But my gut told me otherwise. I dropped onto the edge of the bed, clutching the USB in my pocket. My mind was spinning. Did this woman, Elle, have something to do with what Alex wanted to tell me? Was Daniel having an affair? Or was there something even darker going on? Another clap of thunder made me jump. I felt trapped, like the walls of our house were closing in. I thought of Alex again, the way he'd touched my arm, the softness in his eyes. Part of me wanted to call him, to beg him to come over and tell me everything. Another part felt guilty, like even thinking about Alex was a betrayal. But right now, he was the only person who seemed to know the truth. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from an unknown number. Don't trust anyone. Not even him. More coming soon. My pulse roared in my ears. I read the message over and over, my heart hammering. And for the first time, I wasn't sure who him even meant, Daniel or Alex. Ask ChatGPT. My hands were slick with sweat as I stared at the phone screen, reading the message over and over. Don't trust anyone. Not even him. More coming soon. The words felt like they were carved into my brain. Every sound in the house seemed magnified: the tick of the clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the relentless pounding of rain outside. I tried to study my breathing. Who had sent that text? And who were they warning me about, Daniel or Alex? My mind spun with possibilities, each one darker than the last. I pulled the USB drive out of my pocket and held it up under the soft light of the bedside lamp. My fingers trembled as I plugged it into my laptop. My heart was pounding so loud I was afraid I wouldn't be able to hear whatever was on the files. A folder popped up on the screen titled, "For Mia." I clicked it open and found a series of video clips. My hand hovered over the trackpad, hesitating. The first video was only 15 seconds long. I clicked it. The screen flickered, then showed Daniel sitting in a car, talking urgently into his phone. His face looked strained, eyes darting around nervously. Can't let her find out. If she knows, everything's over. Just handle it like we planned. The video cut off abruptly. My breath caught in my throat. My ears were ringing so loudly that for a moment, I thought I might faint. I slammed the laptop shut, unable to watch more. My chest was heaving. What did he mean by handle it? Handle what? A sudden loud knock rattled the front door downstairs, making me nearly fall off the bed. My blood turned to ice. I crept down the stairs, my pulse thundering. Through the peephole, I saw Alex standing on the porch, soaked from the rain, eyes wild. I opened the door a crack. "Alex, what's going on?" He pushed inside, dripping water onto the hardwood floor. His voice was urgent. "Mia, listen to me. You need to pack a bag right now and leave this house with me. You're not safe here." I stared at him, my whole body trembling. "Alex, what are you talking about? Safe from who?" He grabbed my shoulders, his eyes blazing. "From Daniel. From people he's involved with. I should have told you everything sooner. There's no time. They know you have the USB. I felt the room sway around me. Who knows? "Alex, what did Daniel do?" Alex shook his head. "Mia, there's so much you don't know. And if we stay here any longer, they'll come for you." And at that exact moment, a pair of headlights swept across the living room windows and a car screeched to a stop outside. My heart slammed against my ribs as the car outside idled, its engine growling over the pounding rain. Alex's grip on my arms tightened. His eyes were darting toward the window, like he was trying to decide whether to run or fight. "Mia, we have to go. Right now," he hissed. But before I could move, my phone buzzed again. I glanced at the screen and nearly dropped it. "Stay where you are. Alex is lying to you." It was from Daniel. I stared at Alex, feeling like the floor had been ripped out from under me. "Alex, what is this?" "Daniel just texted me. He says you're lying." Alex's jaw clenched. Rainwater dripped off his hair onto the floor. Of course he'd say that. He's trying to keep you under control. "Mia, you have to trust me." But the headlights outside switched off suddenly, plunging the room into shadow except for the flickering glow of the street lamp. I felt cold all over. Alex stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Listen to me. Daniel's been hiding money. He's involved with people who'd kill to keep secrets quiet. That USB drive, it's evidence. Not just of cheating, but of something criminal." I blinked at him, my brain struggling to keep up. "Criminal, like what?" Before Alex could answer, the front door handle rattled violently. A voice shouted through the storm. "Mia, open the door." "It's me." It was Daniel. My chest seized up as I stared at Alex, who was shaking his head furiously. "Mia, don't open it. Please. He's not who you think he is." But Daniel's voice came again, louder, desperate. "Mia, don't listen to him. He's been obsessed with you for years." The rain lashed the windows as I stood frozen between them, my whole world splitting in two. Ask ChatGPT. The pounding of rain and my own heartbeat merged into a deafening roar. Alex was gripping my wrist so hard it hurt. Daniel was outside, banging on the door like a man possessed. "Mia, open the door." Daniel shouted, voice cracking. He's dangerous. Alex leaned close, his voice low and urgent. Mia, if you open that door, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. My chest heaved. I felt like I was drowning. Then, without thinking, I wrenched my arm free and ran to the door. I threw it open. Daniel stumbled inside, rain-soaked and wild-eyed. He grabbed my face in his cold hands. Mia, he's lying. He's been in love with you since before we were married. He's been trying to frame me so you'd leave me for him. I stared at Daniel, trying to read the truth in his eyes. But Alex lunged forward, grabbing Daniel and slamming him against the wall. Tell her about the offshore accounts. Alex shouted. Tell her how you've been laundering money for months. Daniel shoved him back, eyes blazing. I was trying to protect you, Mia. I got in too deep. I thought I could fix it before you found out. Alex has been blackmailing me. He wants you for himself. My head spun as they grappled, fists flying. I screamed for them to stop. And that's when I saw it, a gun tucked into the back of Alex's waistband. Before either of them could react, I grabbed the USB and hurled it into the fireplace. Flames devoured it in seconds. Both men froze, staring at me in shock. I don't care who's lying, I shouted, my voice shaking. I'm done being in the middle of this. But as the flames crackled, Daniel's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his face went white. Mia, the people I'm mixed up with, they know where you work. They're coming for you next. Ask ChatGPT. I stood frozen, watching the last of the USB melt into ashes. The truth, whatever it was gone, burned away like the life I thought I knew. Daniel's hands were shaking as he lowered his phone. Mia, I'm so sorry. I thought I could protect you. But these people, they're dangerous. They'll come after you to make sure you stay quiet. Alex wiped blood from his lip, his chest heaving. We need to go to the police. Both of you. It's the only way. I looked between them, exhaustion washing over me. Everything I believed about my marriage, my safety, even my own instincts felt shattered. But deep down, I knew one thing: I wouldn't let fear control me anymore. I took a deep breath and spoke firmly. I'm done running or hiding. Tomorrow, I'm going to the police myself. And if either of you care about me, you'll tell them everything you know. Alex and Daniel exchanged a long, silent look. Then Daniel nodded, shoulders slumping as if a great weight had finally fallen off him. By the time dawn broke, the storm had passed. Daniel stayed on the couch, silent, while Alex sat in a chair across the room, lost in thought. I packed a small bag, determined to leave the house and start over. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I'd find the truth in my own way. As I stepped outside into the cool morning air, I realized that sometimes the real leaks in a house aren't the ones dripping from the ceiling. They're the secrets that seep into every corner of your life, waiting to burst open. Ask ChatGPT E3.